Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Monday, a victory Monday for the Texas Longhorns, coming off a bye week that couldn't have been any better from a football standpoint. Cody, it was awesome to get to sit around on Saturday. I didn't have to do radio because I went hunting with and dude, thanks to Matt. I'm sure he's in the chat or watching, but thanks to Matt for having me out and Landon and Chris and those dudes. It was a great time down there in South Texas. But I got home on Saturday in enough time to where I didn't have to do the radio show, but I could focus on a lot of the college football games a lot more so than I generally can when I have that 2 hours of my day just kind of blocked out, right? And thank goodness I did, because it was just exciting game after exciting game and like unexpected outcome after unexpected outcome in our conference, the SEC. And I just, something that I said, like, do you have anything to say just about the weekend in general? Like anything that popped off to you from these games that was like most important?
No, I think the overwhelming takeaway that I had was that Saturday was like a don't move from your couch. You're going to miss something. Like you just couldn't move. It was like there was game after game after game. It felt like all the way until I fell asleep on my couch. First time I've fallen asleep watching football in a minute. I fell asleep on my couch. I think I woke up at like 1:30, went to bed Eastern time, 1:30 Eastern time. And that Miami, California game was still going. And I missed the end of it. And I woke up in the morning and saw the result. I had to go back and watch it. And that thing, like, it was literally noon to 1:00 in the morning of just back-to-back football all day. And then you wake up on Sunday. Yeah. And the Viking Jets game was good. Mm-hmm. The Sunday noon slate was epic. It was just a fantastic weekend of football.
Yeah. Well, dude, even the afternoon slate had said some interesting stuff with the 49ers going down, the Giants beating they beat the Seahawks in Seattle. You got oh, what's his name? Was that Deontay Banks, the guy who they drafted that was so terrible? Like, you got him just bodying up DK Metcalf, and you're just like, what? And then you get the night game, of course, with the rain delay and the Cowboys and everything. Just an awesome weekend of football. And and look, we're going to talk about the kind of Cody's got 6 points of 6 things about OU that he wants to talk about. We have Steve Sarkisian's press conference today, but we do need to talk about the new state of play in the SEC, right? So I want to start out with this, and I want to start out by saying that Texas this weekend, it wasn't just a good bye week for Texas to get healthy, right? Like that's not. It was big for that. Apparently, Sark is saying that if the game were today, Quinn would start. So Quinn's going to play. And they've got to get some, they've got to get some guys healthy. But I think, Cody, did you ever watch? I this in my column, but I'm just gonna kind of paraphrase it. Whenever you were little, did you ever watch these shows like Scared Straight?
A little bit, not too much.
Okay, maybe that was more like
I've seen it, so I get the gist of it. I get the point of it. But yes, I just didn't watch it a ton. But yeah, I get it.
Well, it's I don't even know if that's a show. But it was just like it's a program that people do wherever it's like if there's like at risk like youths that come from situations where it's like you don't want to get off to a bad start and end up in jail and stuff. It's like they take these kids into jail and they take them around the old cell block, and the inmates are all like they're like, yeah, hey kid, like, get out of here. Like, you don't want to end up like me. Like, you'll never see your mom. Like, you'll get stuck in here. And like, we have to look at what I got to eat for lunch and all this stuff. And the kids they're like, oh God, well, I don't want that to be me. That can't be me. And then like, and the show's called Scared Straight. It felt like for Texas on a weekend, whenever they had to, they were at home, and Sark said, man, whenever you go home, he said last week at the press conference, like he encouraged them to watch football. Like, these guys are going to watch football. They were more focused this week. They didn't have their game to worry about all this. And they look and they see Alabama going to Vanderbilt in that cockamamie stadium that was 3/4 Alabama fans. And they say, and they see Diego Pavia just walk the dog on them. And it just, it's like he was back at UNM, just, going into their stadium and peeing on the logo. It was just, and they see A&M and Missouri, right? They see all these games. They're like, oh, well, hold on, wait. Well, this can happen. Like that was Alabama that thing just happened to.
Yep.
The team that was on the ultimate high, they just jumped us in the rankings after they beat the team that everybody says is the best team there is, and they just lost to Vandy, and we're about to have to play Vandy. It's like at this point, Texas doesn't need any motivation going into Oklahoma. Like, there's never a year whenever you need motivation for this game. If you need anything to motivate you for this game, you don't have breath in your lungs, and you don't have, blood running through your body. It's just, there's no way not to get up for that game and that atmosphere, even if you don't care about the history and the tradition and just everything else, right? But as the season moves forward, I felt like this was it was kind of a good time for Texas, man. They're getting a lot of pub right now. They're getting a lot of steam. They're getting a lot of pats on the back. Their friends are telling them that they're the best in the world. And Sark warns against the Rat Boys. And but that happening for young, impressionable young adults, it kind of helps them to see an example of how this can kind of happen. And it just happened front and center in front of everything. I think it's the best thing that could have happened. It's the awesomest thing that could have come out of this bye week. Not to mention that everybody has a loss now, except
Texas,
except these Texas Longhorns. But yeah, so that's kind of my thought on it. And when I'm just looking at my SEC rankings right now that I got to turn into catch here at some point after the show. I want to get it done before the game where we got to sweat New Orleans here in a little while.
You want to talk through it or what? Here?
Yeah. I kind of thought we could talk through it. So, did you make any big changes?
I'll start and I'll tell you exactly what I did.
Okay.
This week I copy and paste the same thing I send to him every single week, and he doesn't post this on that side, but for my side, I just keep a tally of plus minus where I move the guys, where I move the team any given week, so I can see it week after week after week, right? So the biggest mover for me this week was Texas A&M. They moved up from 11 to 6. And they're in the second tier. The first tier, Texas is probably in their tier by themselves, but I put this tier of
at this point
teams.
they have to be in a tier.
They're in the tier by themselves, but I put them in the same tier with these other 4 teams because of how I analyze these 4 teams. Texas, Bama, who lost to Vandy, I didn't move them. I left them number 2.
You did?
Yeah, I thought about flipping Georgia back ahead of them, but because I'm not impressed at all by Bama's defense, but I'm equally unimpressed with Georgia's defense.
Can I just ask you a question about that real quick?
What?
Was that the worst that you've seen their defensive line get blown off the ball all season? How are they that bad against it?
Try like in a while. It's been a while since you've seen Alabama get manhandled. Not manhandled, but like consistently through an entire game get worked over. Like, yeah, like Michigan lined up well with them last year. Michigan also was loaded in entrenched talent, right?
6 linemen drafted, or 6 linemen at the combine.
Texas was loaded entrenched talent last year, like things like this. But I'm more so talking about like a team that is not even anywhere near them in talent, in size, anything, and stayed with them the entire game, beat them the entire game, answered every score with a score, answered the entire game, front to back, all 60 minutes. I don't even know. I couldn't, off the top of my head, I can't tell you the last time that, and I'm talking clearly not against a Georgia, not against a Michigan, not against a Texas. I'm talking about the teams that you expect them to beat, like the Arkansas and the Vanderbilts and stuff like this, and the non-cons, like the South Floridas, who South Florida matched up well with in the last couple of years. But for me, I still keep Alabama 2 and Georgia 3. I jumped Georgia back.
I think I might move Georgia. So as we're talking, I'm going to do mine now because I'm trying to just multitask here. So I'm putting Texas at 1. What do you think of the idea of putting Georgia back at 2.
This is what I'm saying. I thought about putting Georgia at 2, but because it was 9 days ago, I'm not ready to do that because both defenses were equally abysmal 2 weeks ago against each other, right? Bama scored all those points right away. Georgia scored all those points late. They both showed that their defenses are inept. I lean towards the better offense. The better offense is Alabama. So that's why my analysis led me there. I had Georgia. I went like this. I was sitting here this morning and I'm back and forth. And I'm like, head to head, like Bama did it a week ago. Now, Bama plays South Carolina this week. If that game is putrid and we just saw Ole Miss, work them over, I think we'll have it. I think that's at that point, if Bama has a bad week against South Carolina at home, then maybe I'll adjust to that. Georgia, who does Georgia play next week? Georgia plays Texas in 2 weeks. They play Mississippi State this week. So the Mississippi State game should be like obviously 55-3, whatever.
We'll see, man. Georgia,
Texas, right? So I'm not going to let Georgia and Bama fall out of the top 3. They're going to be there right now. When you look at the teams, I actually dropped Nico out of my Heisman watch list. I dropped Tennessee down 2 spots after the Arkansas loss. I left Ole Miss at 5 straight up. Again, last week I told you I was not going to overreact to that Ole Miss game against Kentucky. I left them at 5. They're at 5 still. Where they bounce back with a big 27-3 win against South Carolina. I think they keep themselves in that conversation with the quarterback play, with the overall team talent that they have. I left them at 5, and then that's where my tier break comes in. And I know there's people out there, even though everybody hates A&M, I hate A&M as well. There's people that have A&M as a top 5, top 4, top 3 team in the conference right now. I put them at 6. That's the biggest jumper I had, was them up to 6. But again, like I said, they don't belong in that top 5 for me quite yet.
A&M, that's another thing. But it's like A&M, like they don't.
But we also knew Missouri wasn't good. We've been talking.
We didn't know the Missouri. We questioned whether or not Missouri was like a paper tiger, and they certainly, it's certainly. I think this proved it, but we didn't know. Like it,
we've been talking about it for a moment.
We've been talking about it. I'm just saying we didn't know it. We talked about it, but it's like. It was the Aggies had to go out and they had to. It was the Aggies that ultimately prosecuted that case on a real football field. I mean, I gotta give them some. I gotta give them some kind of credit.
Vandy almost beat him at home last week, and nobody blinked an eye.
After I get to we have a super chat from Tom G. Let's get to here. Tom G, thank you, brother, for the super chat. Man, I can't believe in that league that I'm in with you and Tom G. That I'm about to go to 2 and 3. We had that dude play the song, John from Cedar Park. Every single player. And he was starting guys like Tank Bigsby and Tyrone Tracy and stuff like this against.
I shouted him out live on the show. Because on SiriusXM, because literally, I kid you not, 10 seconds before I said, hey, Trash Man, do the garbage grab. He's introing the garbage grab. And Tyrone Tracy's the first player he's going to talk about. Play the song, adds Tyrone Tracy in League of Continuation, like mere seconds before he even mentioned. I was like, how the hell? So shout out to Tom G.
Yeah, shout out to Tom G. He's doing good in that league. My team's awesome though. Like I'm gonna make a deep run in the playoffs, but it's been a bad start. So Tom G, thank you for the super chat. Quinn Ewers, Cooks OU in Georgia. Does he vault to the top of the Heisman? What would it take? He probably at this point, man, he might have to beat off Ashton Genty to get it.
Genty's the favorite according to FanDuel right now.
Are you coming around a little bit more that he's as good a prospect as Bijan? If he keeps doing this, it's going to take a real galaxy brain explanation to say he's just not to the uber elite of the uber elite.
Oh, no, he is. He's uber elite of the uber elite, but I don't know how to explain him. That's the big.
I don't either. That's the thing what makes him so it's like the girl on the plane. It's like that dude's not real.
Yeah. I don't really know how to explain him, but to answer the question, Tom G, I still have Quinn in tier 3, which is 5th overall player behind Ward, Hunter, Milroe, and Genty. If he cooks OU and Georgia, like cooking OU and Georgia to me, Alex, and I would love to hear your thoughts on these numbers. I'm just going to spit out here. Cooking OU and Georgia would mean both games are 10+ point wins. and he throws 7 touchdowns and 700 yards combined. That's cooking.
I mean, I think Texas fans would take that.
That's cooking. And I think that vaults him up into the.
No, he's in the lead then because he's a quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's undefeated. And Texas at that point will be the team that's like the national potness. And he's the quarterback, and he's coming off 2 monster games after missing some time. I just wonder if the fact that his overall season stats still, he's missing 2 games of in-season stats. But anyway, another chat here from Barb's10. Thank you so much for the super chat from all our great friends here on Football with Friends. Creeping up towards 500 people between YouTube and X watching right now. So thank all you guys so very much. $9.99, 3 things. Okay, is A&M that good or is Mizzou that bad? What top 5 team is the biggest pretender, and why is it Oregon? And seeing Bama and UGA secondary, is there tackling epidemic in America again? Did you notice any of the? I had noticed some bad tackling from Bama previously, but that was not what stood like in the secondary previously. That's not what stood out to me in this football game. I thought it was the defensive line and the linebackers and the run fits and just everything, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I couldn't get over it. Pavi, we all know Pavi is the GOAT. I mean, everyone knows how much we love Pavi around here. But
I do want to say this one thing. We talked about this about a month ago. They talked about it on the morning show on Warren Ketch did. I remember this vividly a month ago because we specifically had the conversation that afternoon about the next best quarterback on the Texas schedule after Carson Beck. And they mentioned everybody in the conference except for Diego Pavia. Remember this?
yeah.
And we came on here and we go, Diego Pavia. And then this morning they went on there and they were like, we've been saying Diego Pavia. And I was like, I'm not gonna roast you, but I might roast you on our show.
Yeah. No, I mean, Pavia is a GOAT. I mean, he's just the Prize Picks GOAT. We've been tailing. They would never make his rushing high or low or go over like 39.5. He's like, are you kidding me, man? He's goes for like 82, 116, like 89, 74. It's wild, man. But yeah, so all right, but Barb's has questions here. Barb's, who I believe is a man. I could be wrong, Barb's. I'm sorry if you're a female.
Okay, is A&M that good or is Mizzou that bad?
I think A&M's better than we thought, and Mizzou's not as good.
Correct. I think so too. Ketch did say this morning that I think he said A&M's according to recruiting rankings, the 6th most talented team in America, I believe is what he said, maybe 5th. My quote might be wrong there, but the Mizzou thing, yeah, it's the paper tiger thing you brought, like it almost happened last week, right? They won by 3 points against Vanderbilt. Like it almost happened the week before. And then of course the Boston College game that everybody remembers with Castellanos, like Boston College was coming off a hot streak and they barely weaseled past them. So one of the interesting notes I will drop just because A&M and Mizzou's up on the screen right now is that one of the notes I found on the Oklahoma site was asked about Lamont Rogers, who's the tackle that's committed to Mizzou right now.
Yeah.
Was one of the Oklahoma commenters asked one of their insiders, is Rogers on Oklahoma watch, like flip watch for Oklahoma? And he basically said, not at all. He's actually going to flip to A&M, like pretty definitively. He's like, no, he's flipping to A&M. So thought that was interesting that,
they're going to get Lamont.
It's what it sounds like. So, and it sounds like Oklahoma's not in on it at all. So, but yeah, I do believe A&M is.
God, can Texas get back in on Lamont Rogers?
I don't know.
I mean, if he's opening things back up, I mean, Texas should do a little.
I mean, he did have a official to A&M, Texas, Florida State, Missouri, and Oklahoma, I believe was the 5. So Florida State's out of that. And Missouri or A&M just beat Missouri, and if he flips away from Missouri, Missouri's out of that. So it's A&M, Texas, and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma seems to be not in. That's according to their insider. I think it was Parker Thune that replied to that. So that would leave A&M, and then the team that you have no analysis on, which would be Texas. So we probably should do some digging and seeing if there's any interest on Lamont for that. What top 5 team is the biggest pretender, and why is it Oregon?
Isn't Penn State in the top 5? If they've been, I haven't like I've gotten to where I just kind of like to watch the SEC, man. I'll catch up on these Big Ten. I mean, is Drew Aller that good? Is he a lot better this year?
He's competent, but he's not. I would. Oh my God, they are. See, the thing is, I try not to consume these dumb AP rankings because I don't know how you can get away with putting Bama or Tennessee at 7 and 8. Other than be like, well, they have a loss, so we have to move them down. It's like, okay, well, then you put Georgia at 5. Like Georgia's 4. It doesn't make none of it makes any sense to me how they do this damn thing. But yeah, Oregon's 3, Penn State's 4 because they're both undefeated, and of course, Oregon plays Ohio State this week. Penn State beat UCLA by 16. They beat Illinois by 14. They barely beat Bowling Green earlier this year. They had a big game with West Virginia to start the year. I don't think
I remember looking at their schedule at one point, and it's because they were on the DraftKings odds, like one of the highest odds to make the CFP. And so I was looking, I'm like, oh, they're undefeated. But I looked at their schedule. I didn't think they were that much. There's that much impressive to it.
well, they're competent. That's like they have a good running game, and Aller's been competent, which he wasn't last year, right? So he's throwing for 70% right now. He's got 9 touchdown passes and 1 pick. Again, he's played Kent State, Bowling Green, UCLA, who's bad, West Virginia, who's mediocre, and Illinois, who's pretty solid. And he hasn't had to throw the ball for more than 24 times in a game. And I mean, Penn State's a good program. We know this. Now, all that matters, Alex,
is Nick Singleton playing? Is Nick?
Yeah, he's got 400 yards, and Katron Allen has like a little less than 400 yards. They kind of have a good. They have a good, pretty good.
I'm looking up Nick Singleton right now to try and find his stats, but it's James Franklin provides an injury update on Nick Singleton. So is he hurt? Looks like Singleton might have got hurt last game.
Well, he leads them in rushing regardless, but I do think that, I mean, they have a pretty big stretch coming up here. I mean, they've started off pretty hot, but they haven't really. I mean, Illinois was the toughest opponent. It was at home, and they had a pseudo whiteout. They traveled to USC this weekend after USC went down to Minnesota. USC's in a peculiar spot. Then they have to go to Randall, and then they host Ohio State. So if they make it through that 3-game gauntlet undefeated, yeah, Penn State's real, but I think they lose 2 of those 3 games.
Okay, so that I mean, I think I just like he says why is it Oregon? I mean, if I had to pick between Oregon and Penn State, I'd say that Penn State's the bigger pretender.
I mean, but also from Oregon, like per expectation, like Oregon beat Idaho by 10. They beat Boise by 3. They also beat UCLA by 20. Beat Michigan State last weekend by 20. 2 bad teams back to back. Now they get Ohio State. I didn't rank. So this has been there's always one random thing in your column when you put it up that's like, okay, I didn't realize people were going to talk about this. I put up the games of the week this week, and I put this Ohio State-Oregon game in tier 2 as like the 5th best game to watch this weekend. And everyone's like, dude, that is completely wrong. And I'm like, who's to say Ohio State doesn't boat race Oregon? Oregon hasn't done a damn thing that they're supposed to do. They're
What's the line, you know?
50-60. They've scored 49 one time against Oregon State. They haven't cracked 40 against anybody else. They beat Michigan State and they beat UCLA by 20. Like their defense this is not a top 5 defense like they were saying this is going to be we're known for offense, but this is going to be a top 5 defense. We haven't seen that. This offense hasn't been exponentially crazy. Like I just don't see. I think they're both pretenders. I think they're both teams that are vulnerable in their own way.
Do you have any guess on do you have a guess on the line? This game is at 6:30, so I don't know if that's Eastern or Central. I'm just looking here at this sports betting website, but
I think it's like 2, isn't it?
No, on some sites. On some sites, it's Ohio State minus 3.5, and on some sites, it's all the way up to Ohio State minus 4.5.
This is what I'm saying, and so that's in Eugene at night. If that was in Ohio State, I think it'd probably be 8?
No, I don't think it would get past 7. 7's a tough number. I mean, it's like you know how that hook works, man.
Yeah,
that's 7.5 or that 3.5 is just brutal. I think it would be minus 7 at home, right?
Again, and we're talking about the AP having these guys as 2 and 3. I think it's cockamamie, and people are like, "Whoa," and I'm like, I don't think it's going to be as good of a game as some of these other ones.
Yeah,
Maybe a
well,
little hot on South Carolina at Bama. That's probably I'm probably a little hot on that, but
I'll be excited. I mean, I'll be excited to watch it. It's awesome football. It's top 10. You know, it's like
top 10
good.
football. I
It's
mean,
good. It's good top 10 football,
yeah,
right?
I'd rather watch Ole Miss and LSU, to be honest with you.
You know, the Texas beef traders is top 10 beef. I mean, it's not top. I mean, if you're looking in Austin, it's top one. It's like you get the beef from straight from Mason, Texas. It's never been like they don't they process that stuff right there in Mason, Texas, and then it goes right to the shop. And so if you're buying it from any of the coolers that are right out front, that beef just got brought in on Thursday. You know, if you're there on a Saturday, or what days it come? No, I think it comes on Wednesday. So you're like, it's just there. It's been there since Wednesday. Now, of course, you know, some of that stuff, if it doesn't sell, you know, there's deep freezers in the back, and you know, some of the more random cuts, they'll have them back there that they're, you know, it's been 2-3 weeks or something like this, and you take them home frozen. But I mean, this is fresh beef, dude, from Mason, Texas, from Gatesville, Texas, from Lukenbach, Texas, all different kinds of cattle, Wagyu, Piedmontese, and Angus. No vaccines, none of this stuff, man. You don't want this. Do you want a bunch of antibiotics shot up into your meat? You're gonna catch some kind of your body. You don't want a bunch of that stuff, man. You build up resistances to stuff. That way, when you need antibiotics, they don't even work and stuff. It's like your whole life's a disaster, man. Your health is ruined. Your medical bills mount up. Anxiety's through the roof. You don't need any of that. Why do you want any of that? Go to Texas Beef Traders. It's so delicious, and you get 10% off whenever you tell them that you heard from us to go there. It's cheaper than the grocery store. It's like, I mean, what are we doing? And if you can't make it into Lakeway to go to Texas Beef Traders, just call them, make an order, get 10% off. It's already cheaper than the grocery store, and you don't even have to go to the grocery store. You get 10% off, and they'll bring it to your house. This is what are we doing? Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com. You can also scan that QR code up at the very top that Cody put up. Cody is very generously he's pointing at it very generously once again coming in for a live show at Texas Beef Traders, just one night here in the Austin area where we're going to do this show live. From there, we're going to eat a bunch of food, eat a bunch of steaks, burgers, have some beers, have some fun, talk with you guys, hang out. We'll be there early. We'll stay after. Be early, be loud, stay late, all that stuff, man. Like, just so come on out to Texas Beef Traders. You can let us know that you're coming there with that QR code. That way we'll know how much, you know, steaks and stuff to get ready, man. Because we're going to have steaks and sausages and sliders and all kinds of stuff for you to sample from Texas Beef Traders. And you can try the Dunlap. I'm going to have him make some of those. Yeah, no, haven't had those. Haven't had those. But yeah, and thanks to everybody again for being here. We always really appreciate it. We're still just going through this list though, Cody, and I figure as we can discuss more of this stuff. I think I'm going Texas, Georgia, Alabama. Then I'm getting to an issue here where I'm like, well, dude, I mean, what do I do with this group now of one-loss teams of Tennessee, of Ole Miss, of Texas A&M, Missouri, Texas or Tennessee, Missouri, A&M, Ole Miss, and then
I mean, there's like 10 teams that have one loss.
Yeah, I mean, I think Oklahoma. So, is Ole Miss back to being the best of those?
I still think I lean Tennessee by a touch. I still think head up Tennessee would beat Ole Miss.
Dude, Nico,
like I said, I dropped him from the Heisman. That he's going through
it. I'm putting Ole Miss after Alabama, dude. I'm just doing it. I'm going there, and then I'm going to put Tennessee after them.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I can't argue with you. I literally have it's Tennessee, Ole Miss, so it's, you know.
And then I need to have A&M over Missouri.
Oh, Missouri tanked.
So Texas A&M is over Missouri, but Missouri is still over. Wait, is Oklahoma over Missouri now?
Yes.
For sure? What? Like, why?
Because they both stink.
But I hope these Texas players aren't thinking that, oh, you dude, this is a game, and Sark said it today, but it's like
It's a rivalry game. It's entirely
you throw the records and the rankings and stuff out the window for this. The dude weird ball bounces real funny in this game, man. It's like I hope these guys, like I had said, man, I hope that this weekend was like a scared straight kind of weekend, man. They can't just. Sark said, like, he's like, I didn't even know that we were 2 touchdown favorites. You know, he said, but I think do you think that line's a little bit too big almost?
Yeah.
I just, for this game, it feels like, man, 14.5 points.
I think I probably put it out. I probably would have assumed that it would have opened at maybe 9.5. Maybe.
Yeah. Or no, maybe 10.5. Right? Get 10 plus the hook. But just, 14 is a key number, right? And you even get the hook on that. It's like it has to go through 2 different ones to get to where we think it should be. It's pretty weird. It doesn't sound like a big difference between just like 10 and 14.5, but that technically it goes through like 3 key numbers there, right? 10, 13, 13.5, 14, and then 14.5. That's actually 5 key numbers. All right, so I'm putting Oklahoma after Texas ain't exit. Yeah, because dude, Missouri to me was not okay. So and then Missouri,
you're in a whole different category with Missouri than I am. I have Missouri. I mean, Oklahoma. I don't have Oklahoma or Missouri in this second tier with A&M. The 2 teams on bye this week, LSU and was it Kentucky? Kentucky was on bye, right?
Kentucky didn't play. Yeah,
so they were on bye as well.
And
because
Oklahoma
they had the Ole Miss win last week. Remember, they beat Ole Miss last week, and so I didn't. So I moved them up 2 spots, and LSU up 1 spot, and that tier by itself, 6, 7, 8 for me is A&M, LSU, Kentucky.
Okay, so I'm putting LSU after Missouri because that was my natural inclination.
LSU didn't do it. What did LSU do?
Oh wait, because LSU's only 1 loss too.
Yeah, they just lost week 1.
Oh, should I have LSU over Oklahoma?
Yes. They found their run game. They found that run game with Caden Durham and Nussmeier.
Do you have LSU over A&M?
No. I have A&M, LSU, Kentucky, 6, 7, 8.
Okay. So all right. So I was gonna have Kentucky. Actually, I'm putting Missouri over Kentucky, and then now it gets down. Oh, but so how do you parse out Arkansas and South Carolina?
South Carolina, I've dropped 3 spots, and I left Arkansas as is. I probably should put Arkansas ahead of South Carolina, to be honest with you. Now that I'm staring at it 4 hours later.
I'm putting because what was the score in the Ole Miss South Carolina? What was the
27-3.
27-3.
It was a dog walking.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's kind of the reason. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go so after Kentucky, I'm going Arkansas. Then after Arkansas, I'm going South Carolina. And then now we just get down to, so Auburn's the best out of these. No, wait, Vanderbilt's the best out of the remaining ones. So I'll have them at. Is Vanderbilt better than South Carolina? They just beat Alabama. I might need to even put them over, but Arkansas just beat Tennessee. I'm putting Vanderbilt ahead of South Carolina, dude. I don't care, dude. Pavi is the GOAT. So Vanderbilt, South Carolina, then Auburn, then Florida, then Mississippi State. So I have it. So here's how I have it. Can you tell me where we have big differences?
Mm-hmm.
Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, A&M, LSU, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kentucky, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Auburn, Florida, Levy.
I think the only big difference probably Kentucky. I have Kentucky 2 spots higher than you. I just respect it. I mean, but that's normal. I've respected their defense more than you have the last month. So
yeah, I mean, you've actually You've
I
actually,
guess I'm a Kentucky fan, but
I mean, you've been kind of right about it.
the problem. I mean, they get Vanderbilt this week, so the problem with like Kentucky, South Carolina, Auburn to a certain extent, Vandy, Arkansas, like these teams, if you look at what they've done so far, it's literally every other week. They can either get dusted, they can dust, or they can compete with anybody. And that's hashtag our conference. Like that's just what it is. So
Do you think Texas is a team that falls into that category that can get dusted any week by anybody?
no.
I think that they're just as vulnerable.
I think they're vulnerable, but I don't think it's in that aspect. Like
I truly kind of look around the conference and think Texas is, and I know it's like a tech kind of, it's not totally a Texas show. We talk NFL and we haven't even we talked about other teams a lot here. Like, but I mean, we try to. I've always tried to not be a total homer about this.
Texas unequivocally has the best offensive line in the conference. They have the best offense in the conference. And you could argue they have you could make an argument for them having
They could really decent edge rush and really decent to get. I mean, they like it's a great edge, a great edge rush, a great secondary.
Like you could argue that they're the best defense in the conference. And I think you get away with it now after seeing Georgia and Alabama the last 2 weeks. Tennessee's got a good defense, but they just, I mean, I still think Tennessee's got a good defense. They went into Arkansas, and I mean that was a buzzsaw. Ole Miss doesn't have a defense that really competes. A&M's got a hammer of a defense, to be honest with you.
No, I mean they got good play. I mean, you noticed watching that game, they have good players. You forget.
That's like their best thing though. Their trenches at A&M have then been like the one thing that they've been leaning on. I've been doing the behind the enemy lines thing for 2 months now, and every time you go over to that horrible website, it's like Nick Scorton, Shamar Turner, all these defensive linemen, David, like all these guys, they love all these guys on the defensive line. That's kind of where they anchor.
We need to get you a TexAgs membership so you can start just going there for your updates for the.
I don't want to give them any money.
Yeah, I mean, Lucci is actually not that. He's not that bad.
Josh Pate went on the TexAgs last week. I'll respect it.
Yeah, I think we might get better intel from kind of their insiders over there than at the.
I don't even think that's probably a take. That's probably factual.
Hey, dude, what did you think about? All right, so those are the rankings. What did you? We'll get to your 6 things from OU, but just what did you think about like fans like a legitimate discourse that I really enjoyed watching fans partake on whatever on X after the Alabama game was the stuff about like, okay, well, DeBoer's in over his head. Like we wouldn't be screaming fire Kalen DeBoer if it was any other team, but it can't be Vandy. It can't be Vandy. He's in over his head. This was always a bad hire.
This isn't your grandpa's Vandy. I mean, this isn't your dad's Vandy, however that phrase goes. Because I mean, this isn't the Vandy team we've seen the last 20 years. Like, this is what the NIL era gives you. It gives you a Diego Pavia, and Diego Pavia is a game changer, and that's why we've talked about the importance of quarterback play in NIL and in the transfer portal. Is you're looking dead in the eyes of Florida State, who's just getting walked on a weekly basis.
Dude, he might get fired, Cody. I don't care, dude, what you say, man.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
I mean, it is.
And then you look at
what happened,
and you look at Miami, who should have 2 losses right now, but because of Cam Ward, they have an undefeated record, right? Because of Cam Ward. And it's the importance of the quarterback, and it's so clear as day. And I just saw Anwar drop something in our team's chat, and I saw it was some Alabama legend guy called into Feinbaum, blah, blah, blah. I get it. This guy called in and he compared it to catching your wife sleeping with your neighbor. You can forgive her, but you can never trust her again. That's the comparison that this guy made to Alabama losing to Vandy. And like, I get it. But at the same time, like everything we've seen to this point this season is how super talented this Alabama team is, but also how different it is, how different DeBoer handles things, how different the players act, how different the team attacks you. Jalen Milroe didn't look like this last year. He didn't. He did not look as good as Jalen Milroe does right now last year under Nick Saban. He just didn't. I don't know if Nick Saban would have ever gotten this out of him. I don't think he would have. People saying they're still a top 10 team. This is still one of the best teams in America. They're still going to make the playoff. And people saying, Caleb DeBoer, blah, 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 blah.
I don't know.
I don't buy it. I think that's cockamamie. Also lost architect, you're wrong. Go back and check the stats. But you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a, like, it's Vandy, I get it, but it's also like Mississippi State's the new Vandy.
No, I mean that's true, and they would have been saying that, like, these crazy, Alabama's got crazy fans, dude. That's what I said. It's like, DeBoer was a coach where I had such immense respect for him, and I was like, look, somebody's getting, it's a once in a lifetime job, Bama, Texas, like these kinds of, I think is Florida State and Miami kind of like that too, Cody. Ohio State, Michigan, USC. These are the kind of jobs.
Borderline blue bloods.
Yeah, I think that those all are blue bloods.
Most of them. I wouldn't say Miami's. I mean, I'm a fan of Miami. I wouldn't say Miami's a blue blood, but they're a borderline blue blood.
Okay, well, it's like whenever DeBoer was hired there, I was just like, and we had this conversation a million times. I'm just like, man, I think he's a great coach. I hope that it's you worry about him. You're like, golly, man, it's like following Saban. It's going to be, it's going to be tough. And he got to see what the first kind of bit of that was. And like on paper and just kind of saying it. And if you're a fan saying, dude, we just lost to Vanderbilt. That's something that, Bama fans just are not used to saying.
Went on McAfee and was like saying that, though. Definitely did not help the old.
Who was it who came on Feinbaum? I was just trying to look in our teams.
Some I don't know. It's a couple messages back. Some guy went on Feinbaum, some legend or whatever the hell, some Alabama guy that calls in regularly, and he said exactly what I just said. Anwar shared in the chat, and he's people are writing DeBoer's grave. Like I was listening to the SEC podcast, and they were like, this is the game they'll look back on. They'll say that's the game. That's why people started to believe that he wasn't the right answer, was because of that game. And also at the same time, the other guy on there, Shane, was like, it'll be at least 3 years before that conversation he's even had. Like he'll have to fail for at least 2 years in that third year, then the conversation could be had. But I still don't. I mean, DeBoer's a really good coach.
He's a good coach, dude.
I mean, it's not Nick Saban, but he's a really good coach. This conversation was bound to happen. He was not going to go undefeated. He was going to lose to somebody at some point, sometime, right? Like it's just the way life is. But
how many times out of 10 are you taking Kalen DeBoer over Brent Venables?
10.
Yeah, me too. Speaking of Venables, what about OU, man? So let's talk about what you wrote about in your column today, and then we can anything that we have from Sark's presser that we want to get to.
One interesting note that I thought the Texas fans would like is that Michael Hawkins. I was listening to an interview with him the other day, and his dad, Mike Hawkins Sr., enlisted in the assistance of Kevin Murray, a former Texas A&M quarterback, and of course Kyler Murray's dad, most notably, to assist him in teaching Michael Hawkins the ins and outs of the quarterback position, which can be alluded to a little bit of his play style, I guess. A lot of the stuff from the Oklahoma website kind of points to them utilizing the run game a lot in this game, whether it's more gap scheme.
It's probably a good idea.
But there was like conversation about like utilizing both gap and zone scheme, running more counters, running some read options with Hawkins, stuff that they hadn't done to this point this year. But anyway, the one of the notes that was made on the site was just working with Kevin Murray as part of his maturation process, and that's what his dad went out and asked for and acquired in. And I think this kid's just an overall good talent. I'm not sure he's quite ready yet, but I will say, like, it's the one note was he's the first true freshman for Oklahoma in 120 meetings to start at quarterback. He's the first true freshman to start snap number one. Caleb played
He
a couple
came
years ago.
in.
He was not snap number one. Thought that
Isn't
was
that true? The first time, huh?
first time for Oklahoma. I don't know about the Texas side, but first time in the game's history that Oklahoma will have a true freshman taking the snap at quarterback.
Oh, I mean, it's certainly not for the Texas side.
Yeah.
I mean,
I-
I'm sure. I think even Ellinger played there as a freshman. Like it's been pretty recent. They've had dudes. I think.
Dason McCullough, the linebacker, sounds like he'll be back for this game. According to reports, they're doubtful on Deion Burks to this point. There's not much positive, I guess you'd
So
say.
that was the lie from Venables on the conference call last week.
But again, he says what he says, but I mean, a lot of these coaches speak, even like I think Sark knows today that Quinn's going to start on Saturday, but even he's like, well, we're going to see what it looks like day by day practice. Like, I think these guys know what they're saying to the media, right? They're playing their game. But it sounds like Burks, it sounds doubtful. There was no definitive, like he's not playing, but it was like very tongue-in-cheek doubtful. Taylor Tatum, the number one running back in last year's class, is questionable in this one. And one note that I had made from this, from Parker Thune, was they were on a pod and they were talking about the importance of having Taylor Tatum back or Deion Burks back. And he was saying how he thought it was going to be more important to have Taylor Tatum back because Taylor Tatum can create on his own. And the running back, the number one running back in last year's class, he can create on his own. And then he thinks that having Tatum is more important for Michael Hawkins' success and Oklahoma's success than having Deion Burks back.
What? What is his? What is his? What?
Because they think establishing the run is important.
Oh, okay.
But like even like that's your best player is Deion Burks. Period.
I mean, I guess, man. People. I mean, sometimes it's just people are just looking for something to say. But
Yeah.
like, I think it's crazy, dude. Do you know what we got to do? Is we got to get in that Poncho Outdoors order, right?
Oh, yeah, man, I'm waiting for your text.
Yeah. So look at this. You can get it. You can get the San Jacinto right now. I was wearing my Poncho shirt this weekend when I was out at that ranch. Able to.
Did you get a deer?
Yeah, because of the kindness of their hearts, man. They let me go on this beautiful South Texas ranch, man. We went for, it was just a doves and does trip, but I was able to bring home a big doe. Man, I was so scared that I'd clean missed on one at like 80 yards with a rifle, and they, I was just like, dude, I just met these dudes and they're just gonna think I'm a huge donk. And it's really hard because, man, that brush country down there with those, they got these thick mesquites and all this stuff. And all these cactuses and all this, but it's so thick, right? And they go and they brush hog these long areas of it, right, where they call them senderos, and the deer just kind of can come out of there. But whenever you see one, this particular time we weren't hunting over feeders and stuff. We were just kind of driving around and seeing if we could see seeing what we could scare up. And I was worried that we weren't going to find that. Like she was a big, nice doe. We looked for something with my 6.5. Like it didn't. There was no blood, and so like I had no trail. But we eventually found it. Regardless, real sweaty. I looked down. I can use. Have you seen on these shirts, Cody, the built-in microfiber cloth on the bottom of the shirt that's just for. It's for wiping off your sunglasses without like.
Is it on the inside?
Yeah, it's on the inside of the shirt, just on the bottom left, on the inside. These things have features that I didn't even know about. So Poncho Outdoors, man, they are awesome shirts. They're great for wearing around at the ranch or at the football game, wherever it is that you are. Make sure and support them because they support us. And I just got an email from them, and they have like 2 new shirt colors, and one of the ones is the one that I'm going to order, Cody. It's kind of like this green one. But anyway, go to Poncho Outdoors, man. They're great sponsors here on Football with Friends.
Beautiful.
Okay.
All right, 2 more notes here, and then I'll be done with the Oklahoma stuff. One note is this kid named Jacoby Johnson, who was formerly a DB. He was an athlete coming out. I should probably have his number listed on the site or on my column. That'd probably help a little bit when people are watching the game. Jacoby Johnson, though, is number 19 here. All right, so number 19, Jacoby Johnson. He's a sophomore, 6'3", 170 pounds, DB, special teamer. It says I think you will see a very infused into the offense Jacoby Johnson this week. It's one thing to prepare and think you're going to see and prepare and see what it looks like, is what Brandon Drum said. Was more so this guy is going to, I guess, add a different wrinkle to this offense, according to them. He says, I think you'll see Jacoby Johnson used against Texas. I think you'll see more counter, some gap scheme blocking on some outside zone runs, also maybe some zone reads with Hawkins that we haven't seen yet, just a few things.
Some counter blocking on some outside zone runs?
That's what he said.
So
he said more counter and some gap scheme blocking on some outside zone runs.
So he's just talking about pin and pull.
Yeah, that's
all. Well, counter and gap is different than zone, but I think what he's just talking about is he's probably. I mean, this probably goes to show that he was actually talking to a coaching source about this, because the coaching source wasn't going to explain it to him. He was trying to explain it to him in a dumbed down way. He's like, "Oh, it's kind of like we run outside zone, but there's some kind of counter and gap stuff." That's like what he didn't want to explain. It's just like a pin and pull or a post pull concept.
Yeah.
Yep.
He just said, wait. And then one of their guys, I don't think he does anything near the deep dig. He's actually referencing PFF in here, but one of their guys, Jesse Crittenton, did a midseason review of their team and basically across the board gave them D pluses at the most positions.
Oh,
so I just made a note. He had this write up. I put it in my column. You can go check it out. I'm not going to read the whole damn thing off right now, but he talks about the offensive line and where they feel like they're best at the offensive line right now. And then he gave the offensive line a D plus. For their grade to this point this season. The last note, and this is more of a question for you, Alex. I just want top of head, top of thought, first thought. Oklahoma fans on where they believe their former starter Jackson Arnold will transfer in 2025 is a topic of discussion right now on their board. And there was about 8 teams listed off. If I said Jackson Arnold starting quarterback blank in 2025, what's the first name that comes to your head? What's the first thing that you go? Maybe NIL, maybe team, maybe thought. What comes to your mind first?
I don't know what the college landscape at large and the decision makers among that kind of thing and the power brokers, these coaches, what they think of him. I'm not sure what the market's going to be. Because he's
from Denton Guyer, right?
Yeah, I'd say, or I just know he's from Denton. I'm not sure which one. There's so many of those
from Guyer.
Was it Denton Ryan? Maybe it's Denton Guy. I don't know.
I'm going to say right.
Okay. The obvious ones that come up are just the ones that are like, well, the guys are going to be gone, like Oregon, like Ohio State, like Florida State.
You literally haven't listed one that they brought up yet.
Okay. Well, I mean,
so Notre Dame came up 4 times.
What about Auburn? They're having quarterback issues.
Still not listed.
Mississippi State.
No, because remember that quarterback that we played against, Texas played against last week was a freshman. That's Levy's pride and joy. So he'd be coming in competing with that guy.
Okay. So, but are we thinking he takes a step down?
So one person did. So here's the list. Notre Dame 4 times, and Notre Dame was a team competing with Oklahoma to get him out of high school. Oklahoma State felt like more of a joke than anything. Texas State was the one step down spot. Texas State. USC times 2 to go out with Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley fixes him, and it's another jab at Oklahoma if he even has a job. Georgia, Coach Prime, Michigan seems like an open door, and Ole Miss.
Oh, because Dart is all right. He's from Dallas. What about those schools? I see people from the chat saying TCU. Oh, Alan McCade saying SMU.
I mean, they did miss out on Keelan Russell, right? They're supposed to get Keelan Russell, and he just flipped to Bama.
They thought they were going to get Keelan. Oh man. Oh gosh. Okay, so they're already chalking it up that he's a transfer. They're saying we're done with this guy. Our hands are washed of him. It's just done. The experiment's over. We're all in on Hawkins. Is that it?
Yep.
That's the vibe of their fan base. Like there isn't any of their moderators over there saying, "Hey guys, tap the brakes, dude." Like he's still a young player here. It's like the
No,
coaching staff is not out on him.
they aren't
Like,
even talking about him very much. It's just kind of like full blown. Everything's Hawkins, Hawkins, Hawkins. I mean, like I said, I've been doing the behind the enemy's line things for over 2 months now, and even back at the beginning of the year and before the season even started, I was hearing things about Hawkins at practice and in training camp and stuff. And it was like, when do we get to see Hawkins? When do we get to see Hawkins? When do we get to see? And then all of a sudden, so they just completely turned the page. And Catch actually replied to somebody in my comments today on the page, and somebody said, "So, do we think if Hawkins were to get hurt in the middle of a game, that Casey Thompson would come in at the quarterback, or would they pass the baton to Jackson Arnold, pass it back to him?" And Catch said, "Thompson."
oh, they're not putting in Casey Thompson. You kidding me? They go back to Jackson Arnold and hope that he's just like goes into total FU mode where he just lets completely loose, and that could actually be a good mindset for him. You know what I mean? Just to say, like, I've already lost it all, man. Like, let's just go out and see what happens. Let's just let this thing loose.
This is the quote. Are you of the opinion that if Hawkins struggles mightily, OU goes to Thompson and Arnold never sees the field? ? Catch. Yes.
We got a Monday Night Football game tonight, Cody. You did on Roster Watch a pick'em show earlier today. It's looking like I'm going to pull up Prize Picks because I want to get in some winners here. Hopefully some winners. I'm on a little bit of a rough streak over the course of the last week or two, so I need to get this done here. It looks like there's a Derek Carr discounted play. Derek Carr on Prize Picks is discounted at 185.5 passing yards. He's going over that in every game, but the Philly game, it looks like Roto Grinders here has him projected at 240.7. So I'm going to go ahead and take that. I'm going to take the discounted play here for sure. Was there anything that you really liked in the pick'em stuff? Do you like Olave in this game? Do you like Shaheed?
I took Kareem Hunt 49.5 rushing yards.
Okay.
I also took
where is New Orleans on the matchup tool?
16.
Okay.
Oh wait, that's running. Sorry, that's receiver. Running back. What are they? I can't remember.
Hold on. I'll just look and see. So this matchup is number. Okay, so New Orleans. It's kind of middling. It's like it's not terrible. It's not great. Kareem Hunt really did start to take over, and isn't Clyde Edwards-Helaire still on the just like the psychiatrist list or whatever? Like he still can't come back.
Yes.
All right. So, but was there anything though? There wasn't anything this week. Was there?
What are you talking about?
There was nothing like. It was like Carson Steele is fumbling. And it just felt like everything went back to Kareem Hunt. I just felt like all week that there was another shoe that was going to drop to make things bad for Kareem Hunt again. But that's not really the case, is it?
No.
All right. I like Kareem Hunt. I mean, maybe to like fantasy yards, but I think he might score a touchdown. What did he run for last week after he came in?
Whatever your cockamamie fantasy point thing was last week didn't freaking fire either. What was that?
Thursday. Godwin. That was the one that missed.
Yep.
All right, I'll just trust you on it. You've been on fire with these props, man. The ones that we're giving out over on Roster Watch have hit at 60% this season. What else did you like? Did you have one with Kelsey?
I had Kelsey. I liked 5.5 receptions. He's at 6 now. I don't like it as much. His receiving was at 55.5 earlier. It's now at 58.5. I think Kelsey's a hammer, but it's people hate it, but I love it. I think this is a completely, Rice is out, Pacheco's out. Hollywood's not playing, like the whole thing.
He's going over 58.5, dude.
It's all circling back to, they need to wake Kelsey up for at least, it's bye week next week. They need to wake him up for a stretch to get this thing cooking.
Then
already undefeated, but anyway.
I think I'm gonna finish it up here after we get off the show with one more pick, because I'm going to want to do something, I believe, with Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave to correlate with that Derek Carr over. So we'll talk about that here in a second. For now, we talk about you. You can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. Follow Cody on X at Cody Carpentier. You can follow me on X at Alex Dunlap NFL. Thanks so much to Poncho Outdoors. Thanks so much to Texas Beef Traders. Thanks so much to Specs. Thanks so much to the almost 700 of you watching right now across all the different platforms. We can't thank you enough. We really respect your time. We're mindful of it. So we want to talk football, get in, get out. Most importantly, we just ask that you come back and see us. We're here every single day from 6 to 7 p.m. Central. For Cody, I'm Alex.